Good afternoon from Alcorobi. This is a permaculture project. You can find us at southlondonpermaculture.com, where I do some trade and publications, and also soteriologicgarden.com, where you can check out my Facebook pages linked to this site. So this is a permaculture project nestled about 55 kilometers south of Tarragona, ancient Roman capital of Iberia, once called Tarraca. And we're in between two villages which are now expanding due to tourism. There's an agricultural village called El Perelló, which is on a Roman map, and is in fact one day's march south of Tarragona or Tarraca. And we are 6 kilometers from La Mer de Mar. La Mella, and Mella is a Catalan word for almond. So almond of the sea, La Mer de Mar, and it's rapidly growing. 3 mega supermarkets have just been erected in the last few years. So they intend to make it into some sort of super town. Well, I've already established myself here as a volunteer site and a volunteer teacher. And I like the idea of trying to bring over Africans and other underprivileged people to learn permaculture and just experience something of a Western lifestyle, which doesn't have to be luxurious. It doesn't have to be financially based, but rather just creatively based. This is just a gimmick, just a folly. What's the purpose behind all of this wood? One of my volunteers called it a theatre. There's the tower. Soon to have a roof on it. There's the cooking area, soon to have an earth oven. So on that note, I'm putting up the roof for the, well, a part roof on the outdoor kitchen area so I can collect rainwater. And I know the roof doesn't have to be large, otherwise I'll probably just get flooding. So the resources I've got here, I've been sort of hanging around for quite a few years. My dad used it for the waterproofing the top of a 20-foot container, and that's rather gone to waste. So what you see here is corrugated sheeting, which I actually got in Glastonbury when I was doing a favour for somebody up there, and I carried that all the way across France to here. And now I'm going to show you how I'm going to put that to use. So a lot of it's damaged, but that's okay. You know, you cut bits off. You have to sort of figure out how to work with used materials and especially damaged ones, where you need to sort of offer it up and spend a lot of energy trying to be as efficient as possible. But that's the case with recycled materials. It's always about trying to be as productive and creative and efficient as possible when you're limited. So this is the water tower, which is going to collect the water, and the roof structure which I'm building is just here. As you can see, I've got the joist up already, which is treated pine, and that's been treated about 3 times. And once the metal corrugated sheeting is over the top of it, it should protect it even more, because I find that most of this wood, because it's a very low quality pine, rots very quickly, and especially on the horizontal where it's actually more exposed to rain and moisture. So the horizontal stuff needs to be protected, otherwise it would just collapse. Now I'm offering up my corrugated sheeting, and there it is. And the idea is that the water is going to run down then into the cistern. Now on the rainfall, on a rainstorm I should say, it will absolutely bucket, and I think probably in one catchment I could fill 2,500, 3,000 litres of water very quickly. Okay, let's have a look. So you can see how I've got the joists underneath. Now I'm going to twist and turn those and bolt those bolt those into the corrugated sheeting above it, and effectively once the whole thing is bolted together, it's one large unit, so that the whole thing won't necessarily collapse, because the whole thing would have to move together, if you see my point of view, because the whole thing would be bolted together. So it would be just one large unit. So that means stuff like these joists don't need to be sunk into, you know, the cross sections here, because they are literally held in place by the corrugated sheeting, which is held in place by the next joist, and which is holding in place the corrugated sheeting on this side, and which is also bolted to that joist, if you see my point. So I tested it earlier, and I'm going to just test it again and show you. And there you hear it. I haven't got really far to go, but let's cover it first, see how much I can get out of these, you know, knackered materials, what bits I need to cut off, what bits I don't have to use, and that type of thing. Add a few more joists underneath it just to reinforce it. Remember, there's got to be a weight limit on this. And then start dismantling to bolt it up again, bit by bit. Okay. I carry Mary on my back. She's much a burden as a fish in the sea. She's sweet and salty, her lips touch the columns of my heart, swelling up around me, moisture caressing the rigidness of my form. Like a bird's wing in flow, it tickled into my trembling, gave up a vigorous fluttering. Zealous was my heart. So I don't have to look good at this present moment. By the time I cut off certain bits, I can use them elsewhere to fill in a few gaps. And I think I've got a couple of odd bits behind me as well. So all I'm doing really is filling up this gap here and that one over there. Looking at it from the bottom, as you can see, could do with a lick of paint, but once it's bolted in, it'll be nice and tight. And basically I'm just going to use anchor bolts to anchor in the sheets onto the actual joists themselves, without having to actually penetrate the joist, because it's not great wood, as I say, and any bolt that you put through it would just ultimately come loose from rotting. So the idea is to create a U-bolt around it, as you would an exhaust pipe underneath a car, and then it pulls it all in. So it doesn't look great, but it doesn't have to at the moment. Even that can collect water for me.
Into the net, but second break point followed. The man he's chasing is Ken Rosewall, who was 39 in 1974 and reached the final of both Wimbledon and the US. He didn't win either of those matches, but John into the net with a forehand spinner. He now has a concede.
And that is such a big strength from Yannick Sinner.
So
in those
I should say something about this place, you know, because in a strange way I'm living like
we had a stunning statistic of his at the
I
US
know.
Open last year where
like one of those
he played 7 miles per hour fast
illegal
at
immigrants,
speed. So he clearly
makeshift
is
camps
the player that matters most.
seeking asylum.
Can he do something
They have skills as well, how to build something quickly and how to pull it down and move on whatever, how to find materials,
Opportunity for Djokovic.
how to network.
Backhand, the moon ball return, the forehand from Sinner.
All these are permaculture skills.
Sinner's forehand moving Djokovic around the court, but Djokovic
It's on the ground stuff. It's really the state of the world we live in. I choose to be like this because it allows creative abilities to manifest themselves. It keeps me strong, fit and healthy, keeps me sharp in my mind, you know. And then when I'm tired of this for a little while and I feel as though I'm satiated creatively, I go back to my gardening jobs and earn good money. And all that money comes and is invested on ideas that I want to implement for the community. So this is a community project, and I would have liked to have done something like this with another person, but as you can see, I'm not a cripple, and I've been crippled by my activities in the past. Occasionally I've had a hernia, but I've changed my habits, and there's no sight of them anymore. But stuff like this, yeah, it's something that other people can learn. You don't have to be poor to be humble. Yeah, does that make sense? Just humble yourself in your environment and say and ask the question, what can I do to contribute to nature around me and to the community that wants to share in that nature. And so the idea here is about expressing ancient skills, going deep into my unconscious and giving it form and seeing that as the healing. I mean, I feel blessed to be able to do stuff like this. That corrugated sheeting cost me about £15. So think about those Palestinians keep on moving on, and who don't have a choice but find themselves in this situation. But every time they try to get creative, they're snuffed out. Every time they try to settle down and create community, they're exterminated. Just think about that, you know. And the people that are doing that know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to destroy the soul of a people, and it's not just in Palestine. This is the case of history all over, you know, especially in the West. Domination and colonialism that comes with it. They will never be satisfied. That's why wars will never end. humanity, the fallen race.
Fire passed him, and it was an
As the mountains were reduced to rubble and earth, and great was the demise. All thousands of years of wandering the plains of the sky. And there I only saw light. Now I lay catacombed in the heap foundations of a slow demise, loosened by her king. I was surmounted by encompassing prostration. Beneath an ebbing wave and virtue did I fly. So the next stage, as I come towards the final part, is to actually just pin up a few loose edges here and there, just for aesthetics, and it adds a bit more strength. You see from the top, you can guess what I mean. See here, I've got to pin these 3 sheets together, 1, 2 and 3, and then I might have to butt something up into there. But before I can do any of that, I really got to take some of this damage out before I can put the final piece, which is into the corner. But as you can see, it's working wonderfully. This is only my second half day really, and it doesn't matter what it looks like from the top because you won't see it. But to be honest, the top looks better than underneath. But let's get on with straightening some of these edges out. There should be a channel here to allow the water to flow down. So this one's been flattened out, just laying down somewhere. There's other stuff chucked on top of it. It's quite a feat to do this with a camera in the hand. A good shoulder. Here we go. As I say, don't have to look brilliant. Probably give it a few hammer blows as well. There's an opportune moment just to point out that you see how it pulls itself in there quite nicely. A few more turns and I've got that, and it would be like that all over. So it's actually looking really good. And any gaps underneath the actual corrugated sheeting where it could just do with a little bit of buffering to prevent bowing when it fills up with water. When the water starts to go down, we don't want it sinking at any point so that it collects like a pond. Just want it to go straight down. That's a good thing about using corrugated sheeting. It's even busted up road stuff like this can still redirect most of the water to your final destination. With fish as my guide, I reached the streams that issued from the womb of life. So gave way to walk. Jotting his eye will stay and head in joys with woe. One other age passes. On then, I am the mountain again. With only the sun for keeping me company. Peace to all Palestinians, and I wish to convey the greatest hope in my music that I can give you. See you one day. So I've done the Homage now. What I've got to do is clean it up, and because the joists don't follow the same direction as the flow of the water, basically I'm going to get some runoff coming off this edge. That's why I've cut it, and I'm going to put a gutter along there, and that gutter is just going to feed a downpipe into the the cistern, the tower. And then that's really complete, other than fastening a few bits here and there at the top end, because the wind gets underneath that. You'd be surprised, you know, sometimes the wind here is so powerful it'll lift up like a sail. So it's really got to be bolted down at both ends. The weight of it alone is not enough. Can't miss this. This is where all the action is. You get a passion for things. I've got passion for creativity and work when I'm putting my mind to my hand. And this is like, went on for twice the length of time that I anticipated. And because of that, I've been trying to skip my meals. We've all been there at some stage. You don't need to eat when you've got this spiritual energy pumping away. For you. Here we go. And that's what it's like. Passion. You know. When you find that passion in your work, don't change your job. No. Doesn't matter if you're not getting paid. When you find that passion, then you know it's coming deep inside you from the unconscious. It's like a form of grace. It's the Protestant ethic, work ethic, that they talked about, you know, in the 17th century onwards. It was the Protestant work ethic that won over America, created the American dream. And the American Civil War was based really on slavery and the attitudes to slavery by the various religious sects. There were so many, I mean, everybody just sat hand in hand. Every church denomination just sat hand in hand with each other. And it caused, in a way, a great divide between the North and the South. See? And so slavery continued in the South when it was abolished in the North. So slaves are trying to escape to the North. Now, you could easily say, if you're a pessimist, that, well, then religion's the cause of the American Civil War, but not really. It's about pride, you know. They were going against the king. These are human sentiments, wasn't a continuation of the religious wars that were going on in Europe, and the papal wars, especially when you think about the roses. It was about pride, and what religion actually done was introduce through Christian compassion, the idea of non-slavery. It was indelibly stamped in the colonial powers at the time, but religion questioned the very moral basis of slavery, and that's why you get a divide for good. The problems with today is that everyone's forgetting their religious roots entirely. A lot of countries other than Islamic countries are becoming secular entities, and they can't understand why they have these problems with their pride, with their unconscious. They can't deal with it. And they're producing great leaders in this world who say they're religious and go to church, tokenism really, and they're not religious at all. They don't understand the religious sentiment in the heart. Well, you can't, could you, if you're creating bombs to blow up the third world peoples and, you know, creating wars around the world just so you can maintain your power hold and materialistic lifestyles. Think about that. They're not very religious at all, these countries, and then they wonder why all these monsters are ruling the world. But as a little bit of sarcasm here, this is my monster magic. This is how I deal with my monsters. Creativity. Well, I probably my third half day now. I think it's probably my third or fourth, I can't remember. I'm actually really tired, and I sort of appreciate quite a bit people who have to go up and down ladders all the time. Roofing work must be really tiring. I'm certainly proving that. So I'm tired, but I'm really at the end of it now, and you can just have a look. You can see actually how nicely it's all been pulling in together. It's the top that matters, so make sure that the water runs off and doesn't backfill in this direction. Okay, so let's go up and see what's going on. So here we have it. As you can see, it's pretty battered in some corners, but I've tried to keep the best bits up here. Rusty on other corners. I suppose the hardest thing I've done was putting the gutter in. I had to make sure that that overhang was enough to collect the water. So by putting it slightly askew, I think is the word, askew to the actual beams or the joists themselves, meant that I can get strength. So most of it comes down and goes straight into here, and as you can see, empty, and then the rest of it gets captured along here. So I'm just working with natural material. Nothing really cost anything. A few washers and bolts I had to buy, that type of thing, but nothing much. And that's it. You see, beautiful. Now it was supposed to rain today, and that was going to be my gift, but we'll see. I'm patient.